the home of inspiration every day.
Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful.
From news,
countries across the globe have been hit by the COVID-19 virus.
Views,
there's a global trend to see an increase in GBV incidences, specifically domestic violence.
Sports.
What's he say? It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala.
And music to inspire you every day. This is Vuka Online, your inspiration radio station.
Hi there, and welcome to Healthcare Hour with Colleen Qvist. I'm sure that you've had a great week. I've heard from so many of you, so hello. And I'm so glad that we are focusing on gratitude, that we are seeing what we can be grateful for each day, and we're waking up each day thinking, what is out there that can make our lives better, as opposed to focusing on the bad and the horrible. Because believe you me, if you look for bad and horrible, you're going to find it. As you know, Healthcare Hour is all about healthcare professionals. It's about us understanding that healthcare professionals are people. They have families. They get tired. My guest today is smiling at us. Yes. They would like to have balanced lives. And traditionally, balance in human, in healthcare was very much about, no, you've chosen to be healthcare. You can't be balanced. But I'm glad to see that that's now changing amongst a lot of healthcare professionals. It's also about us understanding that we need to improve the relationship between the healthcare professional and the patient, and of course the patient's family. And then, of course, an important part which we're going to look at today is, as people, at some point we can be the patient. At some point we can be the patient's family. And so we cannot just sit there like little sacks of potatoes and not know what's going on in our own health. We need to be empowered to make choices, to decide things, and also to understand what's happening in other people's lives who may be the patient. So my guest today is Professor Carol Ann Benn. She tells me that she normally goes just by Carol, because when her mom says Carol Ann, she goes, ooh, okay. Yes. So hello to Carol Ann's mom. But hi, Carol. Thank you for joining us.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Yes. So we are going to find out after the break exactly more about Prof. Carol Ann Benn, and we're going to dive into a subject called survivorship. But first, let's go for a break.
How do you know the life of personal coach you're about to work with is who they say they are? How do you know if they can do the job? At the Africa Board for Coaching, Consulting and Coaching Psychology, we can tell you. So, before you share your secrets and spend your money, check with us first. Visit www.abccccp.com or call us on 012-751-7608. The ABCCP, the professional body for coaches.
Welcome back. You're listening to Healthcare Hour with Colleen Qvist. My guest today is Professor Carol Ann Benn, and many of you will know her. She is the fellow of the College of Surgeons of South Africa, and she is very, very interested, has made her career out of breast disease. She is also she established the Netcare Breast Care Center of Excellence in Mill Park Hospital, and I'm sure you all know her as well from Helen Joseph, where she does lots of breast work. Yes. But dive in more. Tell us more, Carol.
Right. Okay. So firstly, my interest is really people, and my interest has always been healthcare and women's health. I have been involved for almost the last 30 years in trying to make changes in people's accessing to care, and really the concept that it's about the patient and not about the doctor. Practicing horizontal medicine, where you're talking to people and communicating with people. I was in government for 35 years. I left Helen Joseph about 3 years ago, as most people know, and I have a now other access units throughout the country and work tremendously with what I call public-private partnership. I'm just heading up the African global cancer from a point of view of trying to improve care in different parts of Africa, so as well as our country. So for me, am I balanced? Absolutely not. Do I have a fabulous life? Absolutely yes. Okay. I think you could probably call me balanced in that I exercise almost 5 days a week, and watch what I eat, and I do things like every second weekend maybe go up to Kruger with and just do or go diving, or so I have a. But then in between those, I work really, really hard. So I can do like 18 days solidly from about 5 till late at night. And then even when I'm away, if I've got international travel and talks and trips, then I'm online for Teams to discuss things with patients. So talk about everyone is at risk for health problems. Okay, one day at a time. Only 2 things you can do: exercise and keep your BMI under 30, and then basically it's a genetic lottery, and 65% of people who get breast cancer have no risk factors. So your prehabilitation means what can you do to improve, and none of us are perfect, little bits about your life every day. When it comes to diagnosis, people should try and go for their screening: breast, cervical, stomach, colon, and skin, and obviously men, prostate. And then what you need to do is when you go for your screening, if they find something, take time and understand the costs. The biopsies and the diagnosis are made by radiology and pathology, not rushing into surgery. And then you want everything discussed in a multidisciplinary environment. And after that, each person will have an individualized treatment plan. Breast cancers, we divide them into 4 different families, and they're treated according to their family. And it's not about cutting in, and definitely not this concept of, oh, do a bilateral mastectomy. We're really hitting an era of less is more personalized. When you're talking about bilateral mastectomies, you're talking about things like risk reduction, like that whole Angelina Jolie concept. That is not done with the diagnosis of a cancer. You can consider that electively down the line, but taking out both your breasts, bilateral mastectomy is really a big breast conserving surgery because you can never take out all the tissue anyway. So when it comes to during treatment and post-treatment, because everyone has a specific and individualized treatment plan, survivorship is critically important. So fields such as exercise oncology, what exercise you're doing during treatment, fields about oncology life coaching, understanding the pillars of sleep and diet and nutrition and mental well-being when you're going through traumatic times, understanding the impact it has on you, your family, and your work is really important. We have rehabilitation teams to help with mobility around surgery. In fact, we win awards at many international congresses on our systems around pre, during, and post-treatment to make sure that people are safe. I think what's important to realize is once you go through treatment, it's a little bit like going through the tumble dryer, and that everyone needs personal care. So we have physicians to manage side effects around treatment, help with compliance, manage the sequelae of if you've been through chemo and you have problems with your hands or feet or hair or brain fog or menopausal symptoms. All these things are critical and not for just a 10-minute review. But I do think that people must be aware it's not just about being smacked around with treatment and then left out to dry. So it's about personalized, de-escalated care regimes for each person, taking into account their cancer, their physical needs, their mental and psychological and emotional needs.
Okay, so what I've seen, you're looking at it being very personalized, but
Right.
also your healthcare professional, and that's where I've seen personally, where the healthcare professional often sees the patient as being on a conveyor belt. And here comes the person, Jim, here you are. Oh, yes, no, you do have cancer. Off you go, treatment, that's it. Yeah, and I mean, I'm referring here to prostate cancer, where like shocking how people were
We,
treated.
we We absolutely don't do that in the unit. In the unit,
Yes.
you're not on a conveyor belt. Firstly, no one's on a conveyor belt. Okay. I always say each personal journey has you've got to, when you start on your journey, whatever your journey is, you can have little side roads and off roads, and the view you see and how you manage it and what car you drive. And in fact, Louise, who heads Breast Health Foundation, to say we could be in the same car but have different. It's different for different people. It definitely isn't and should never be a conveyor belt. And you really, really try hard, because each person's different. Each cancer's different. So how can it be a conveyor belt? It's got to be very, very personalized to that person. An 82-year-old with a breast cancer as opposed to a 27-year-old, it's completely different needs analysis and may require completely different treatment. Looking at fertility, looking at all sorts of things.
Yeah, so we're seeing that survivorship is then basically, how do you survive? It's not just, okay, you have
survivorship is how do you live.
Yes.
I hate the word survivorship.
Okay.
Survivorship, you don't wake up in the morning and go like the Gloria Gaynor song, I will survive. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. The one thing I absolutely can't do is sing. But the concept is that you want to wake up and how am I going to thrive today?
Yes.
How I'm going to have the best me with all the little aches and pains and niggles that each person has. Okay.
Yeah.
Be it funky knees to managing menopause and you can't take medication, to being you battled with sleep, being with chronic fatigue and exhaustion, whatever it is, okay?
Yeah.
But you add a cancer diagnosis on the top of that and treatment, it's technically more difficult, and that needs to be taken into consideration.
Yeah. Okay, so on that point, let's go for a break. When we come back, we're going to find out more about survivorship. We're going to have to add the sing about the song I Will Survive in the break.
Oh,
Not, especially for Carol. All right, let's go for a break.
The home of inspiration every day.
Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful.
From news,
Countries across the globe have been hit by the COVID-19 virus.
Views,
There's a global trend to see an increase in GBV incidences, specifically domestic violence.
sports,
What's he say? It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala.
and music to inspire you every day. This is Vuka Online, your inspiration radio station.
Welcome back. You are listening to Healthcare Hour with Colleen Qvist. My guest today is Professor Carol Ann Benn, and she's talking to us about survivorship. Although she's saying she does not like the word survivor, she does not say that we get up each day and go, yay, let's survive today. It's more just how do you live? So we're going to have to come up with a new term, Carol.
Yes.
All right. So tell us more about where this whole story comes in. You know, I imagine it would be physical, mental, emotional, social, and then also the financial. You know, you've alluded to, you know, you get a diagnosis. What does that mean? How much does it cost? Do you have medical? What will they cover? So there's
that's
impact.
called. So part of ensuring treatment is really connecting the dots, is to make sure. So in our unit, we have 9 different navigators. So a financial navigator is somebody who's going to help you and say, actually, yes. So I always say to people, do not rush into biopsies, have everything reviewed, understand the costs, work out whether it's coming out, and I'm useless at it, so don't come to me about it. Okay, so I can't even work out when my medical aid pays for this or that or other, and it's the same for most of us, right?
Yes,
so
we're not experts in every single field.
Not at all. So what is the kind of biopsy? Is it covered by the medical aid, or is it not covered if it's not a cancer diagnosis? You want to understand this before you go hot-footing it down the line. Then when you're requiring surgery, we have people who work out, because I have a internationally accredited unit here at Mill Park, and we're hoping to internationally accredit the unit at the Brenters. And the value is that for patients different hospitals have different co-pays, and those are important for people to understand. So you want to understand all that before you go in for treatment. Absolutely. It doesn't mean we shouldn't be going into treatment, but what we should be doing is just really understanding what is on the cards, what is possible, what is necessary, what the alternatives are.
So what I'm hearing from you is the time taken to sit with different people to work out different aspects of your diagnosis. What does this mean for you? How does it impact? And not like, right, rush off there, have a bilateral mastectomy, and now we're done.
And because you can't, that doesn't solve any of the problems at all. In fact, taking off both the breasts doesn't mean that you're not going to require oncology treatment. So I think for me, how we work it from our unit point of view is everything is discussed in a very robust multidisciplinary meeting with 45 specialists. And then there's feedback by navigators, there's online Teams consultations. So it doesn't mean to say that you need to see many people, but what you want is many people involved in the decision-making process and the feedback to you and an understanding in terms of what your options are, because it's not one size fits all.
Yes. So good. You're not asking the person to go sit with 45 people and have like little in between.
That's terrible. There's some units who like to do come in, you're going to see me, the doctor, and me, the reconstructive surgeon, and the oncologist in the same consult. That is appallingly bad from a psychological point of view. I mean, it's bad enough going to the doctors. You feel like you're in the headmaster's office. Now you have 3 people, you feel like you're in an interview. And what do you say? So we're quite fussy about the value of they have an initial often with me, we have a discussion in the MDM, they have a Teams review consult. So it means that it's in your own home environment. And just the distance in itself gives you that little bit of, okay, I feel like I'm not being asked to make a sudden decision. I always say to people, do not make decisions in a doctor's room.
Yes. Okay. What you find though, I mean, people are scared about going to a doctor anyway.
Right.
Then they also have this whole thing about, the doctor knows. The doctor will tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And then it's also that so many people don't understand the lingo or the jargon or the whatever. And then they don't say, I didn't follow a single sentence of what you've said.
Yeah. So for me, there are ways around it. So I write obsessively and I write in analogies so that people can understand and publish out those writings. I think that's important. When we see people have no desks in my office, everything's done on a couch, they sit in with someone else. And after the history and examination, I encourage them to record what I'm saying so that they can go over all the options, and then you can go, okay, this made sense because you're right. And also remember, when you're stressed and you've got a diagnosis, you're taking less than 20% of what someone's telling you.
Yes.
So it behoves the doctor, consent is to make sure that the patient understands. Do not put your doctors on pedestals. We can be good, bad, or ugly. It's ugly. I was cross with my staff today. When I don't have, every file for me is a person, and I'm fanatic about feedback, courage. That's why people have access to my cell and my email, and they can WhatsApp in, because what you want is you want patient safety, and consent is pivotal to that.
Yes. Yeah, and just to be able to know that the team has got their back, that it's not a journey on their own now.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, so why, obviously you've talking about survivorship now, and you're wanting the public to know about it, but you're also wanting healthcare professionals to know about survivorship.
Yes. So I actually, on my list of things to do, I've actually got I must chase up it with my IT team, is to run a medical survivorship course for doctors, because people don't want to come back into their oncology unit. Understandably, you have post-traumatic stress and depression, and that the general practitioners and the nurse navigators recognize what needs to be referred on and what can be managed. I think that's very, very important. So absolutely, healthcare professionals need to know. And the best way to do that is also to get people to know, because if people know, then they ask of it. Too many people will sit quietly. Oh, I've gone through my treatment. Thank God I've gone through my treatment. Then I'm not going to say another word. The fact that I've got vaginal dryness and I can't have sex with my partner, and I'm just not going to say anything because I'm so grateful I've gone through. And that's not right. Life is about that balance, isn't it? Between quality and quantity, and making sure that, yes, it's difficult. We've got a fridge magnet. My husband, life is difficult. Life is something, my darling, but you can manage it. Okay. But the concept is then you've got to work out how you are making that balance of whatever you need to take manageable. So you talk about life balance, but there's also a health balance. Okay. And there has to be, and your balance doesn't have to be a perfectly equal scale. It can be a yo-yo up and down, but you don't want it just to be so awful and so miserable that you just think to yourself, well, what's the point? And mental health is a really important issue.
Yeah.
Mental health is about recognizing that cancer and oncology can make people depressed and the medication hard. And if you feel like you're living in London or in the UK and the weather's grey and miserable all the time, and you're not seeing sunshine in your day, then what we need to do is recognize that you may need to see someone, seek help, or require medication. And we mustn't look at, oh, I don't want to take an antidepressant. You need to know what antidepressants you can take, who should be prescribing them, and to make sure that you're having those little electricity conduits so that the light is bright in your little head and not dim and miserable.
Yes. So what I'm hearing then is that don't keep quiet. You know, a lot of people will have like, I have cancer, I've survived cancer right now. Okay, now in your example where you said, okay, vaginal dryness, and now it's almost like, well, hang on, I'm alive. So let that go. That's not important. I can't talk to my doctor about that. Whereas
You have
you're
to
now
be able
saying,
to
no,
talk to
it's
someone.
all part of your whole big self. Yeah.
Yes, you're more than a breast, you're more than a body part, you are a people. That's so I
A
think
whole
what we need,
people.
a whole
Yeah.
people. Okay. So
Yeah.
I think what we need to do is encourage the peeps to say, okay,
Yes.
and to find someone that they can talk to. Sometimes you feel more comfortable not talking to your oncologist, and that's where survivorship specialists play a really important role.
Okay. All right, so let's go for another break and then we can hear more about survivorship when we're back.
The Africa Center for Work-Based Learning is a professional development center for professionals who aim to improve their professional standing. This means that the learning programs we run are more than just academic programs. They are work-based programs that focus on leveraging your current experience as a professional to build your overall profile. A year down the line, the Africa Center for Work-Based Learning is developing into a preferred center for professional development in Pretoria, with 8 professional development faculties including accounting, teaching, entrepreneurship, as well as IT and many more. For more information, go to acwbl.org or dial +27 12 751 7608. The Africa Center for Work-Based Learning, where work is learning.
Hey, you are listening to Healthcare Hour with Colleen Qvist. My guest today is Professor Carol Ann Benn, and she's talking to us about survivorship in oncology and what's involved, what's not involved. And also to realize that although she said she doesn't like the word survivorship, it's about us living, and that you could have your oncology treatment, that it all impacts. We're all connected, but we're most importantly human. We're not just single organs, or we should be grateful because we've now gone through treatment and come out the other side, and therefore you can't complain about or want other stuff. It's almost like, but you're alive. That's the best you can be. And Carol's saying, no, it's not about that. It's about speaking to people to say, maybe you need an antidepressant, maybe you need to speak to someone about your sexual health. And also seeing as well that it's physical, mental, emotional, social, and of course, financial. And of course, you may not be comfortable with every single professional speaking about all of those things, but to see that you need to actually live, you need to thrive, you need to be happy each day as far as possible.
Yeah, I think, and we're going to have ups and downs and cross and good and this, etc. So we're not asking for the nirvana of unnecessary.
No.
We're just realizing that it's going to be a wave. It's going to be like sometimes you're on a little bit of a thunderstorm at sea and sometimes it's calm waters. But to recognize that it's okay, and to make sure that you've got people to talk to about it. Obviously, we can't go all ranting and raging. I did a bit this morning about the everything that's wrong, etc. But you got to have an out. I think out is important. So, I mean, for me, whether it's Pilates on a Monday and body tech on a Tuesday, usually I cycle on a Wednesday. I'm going to say that the reason why I had a cross staff moment is maybe because I wasn't on my bike this morning. And but to have things that help you manage, and exercise is really super important to that. What we've also got and we've set up that I'm super excited about is music therapy aspect to the unit. And I always find I start really, really early. So you want to know a bit about Carol? Start really early in the mornings. And I always drive into, I am the queen of the playlist. Funkiest playlist to get you up and moving and grooving. Not only can I not sing, but I don't know that I'm dance coordinated. Never mind the fact that I do love it. I am a little jealous of my daughter who's got a Zumba class. I can't get the times right to start that. But if there was one at 5:30 in the morning, I would be so there. Okay. And I think that's really a good thing. So I do think support is good, not just your doctor support and having your survivorship team, but who's your ghost busting team, your families and friends who are looking out for you. And whether it's family or friends, that's okay. And what are you doing to get you out of your head? Really important for all of us.
So what I like there as well, Carol, is like balance is not equal parts of pizza. It's about sitting with yourself and saying, what do I need? So like there you saying, okay, maybe you blew up at staff. Sorry, staff. She will come say sorry, maybe for how she did it. But it's also seeing, okay, maybe you missed your bicycle. So it's about regulating our emotion and not just blowing up over everybody, but also seeing, okay, yes, there have to be standards, there have to be ways that we operate.
That's right.
Yeah. And we can't just go, oh, shame, poor little Nunu. All right.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So you can't, inexcusable behavior is inexcusable behavior from all of us. I think we owe it. I always say, before something comes out of your mouth, just shush, okay, and take a step back, okay. What I love is I've got a lot of patients and friends always send me a little something each morning, and I quite like the one from this morning from Rafik. It says, I don't walk away to teach people a lesson. I walk away because I finally learned mine. Okay. So we got to, so what we want to do is have a balance. Okay. What we want to realize is we're not perfect. We mustn't lull in the woe is me, everything's wrong. I think we must try. I quite like the concept of good report list. Hey, this is the positives, this is the negatives, and I'm Carolisms. I'm famously, my kids were like, oh, mom's going to say, this is the first day of the rest of your life. Absolutely. So just because you mucked up yesterday, don't think you can't step back up and try and do things differently or better. There are always ways to do things better and differently. I'm a big ideas person. If it's not working, find another way.
Yes.
Okay.
And also as a coach, I mean, I know as well that a lot of people have, especially in a cancer diagnosis, of saying like, oh no, now we're fine. Now we just got to fight every day. We can't have a little breakdown. We can't cry. We can't this. We just got to be, no, every day you've got to fight. And it's more a case of no, you go recognize there are days when you're going to just want to eat chocolate cake, you know,
Yeah, hundreds.
or,
And
or
that's
you,
okay.
yeah, it's okay.
If you feel
And to
like a guy
embrace,
doing all of this and say, oh, okay,
mm,
really not my best, but you know what? Pick myself up and move on.
yes. I think for a lot of loved ones and families, though, it's more a case of if they allow you to say, oh, today's a bad day or today's not as good as yesterday, it's almost like they're scared that people are giving up. And
Yeah,
there's a case of no, you can't give up. You've got to keep on like, come on now. Yes. But
yeah,
it's
so
about embracing the real.
absolutely. And that's really about cancer survivorship, isn't it, as well?
Yes.
Okay. So it is embracing the real. It's very, very hard to go through chemo, going through radiation, going through surgery. Let's not make light of it. It's very, very hard to go on to 5 years of endocrine treatment that puts you into menopause. So, but how are we going to manage it?
Yeah.
And how are we going to get support to manage those side effects?
Yeah. So it's looking to see how do we do real? How do we embrace real? And it's not just a walk in the park and yay, we can just do this. So we do need support. We do need professional people to look out for us. And yes, a message to certainly the public out there is that, as we said, doctors and healthcare professionals are not gods. They are people.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's why I like multidisciplinary approach to healthcare because it always makes me anxious when people want to do things on their own. And when I set up multidisciplinary over 20 years ago and accreditation over 10, 12 years ago, it was because of the concept that you want a team because if someone is like, okay, I haven't got it on that, someone picks it up, pathology, radiology, etc., but also from an accreditation point of view, you want to set the highest bar to make sure that you have checks and balances so that things aren't missed. And I think that's
Yes.
really important.
Yeah. Okay, yes. And so that whole process, that whole like, oh no, well, we did a different process because today's Tuesday, you know, it's like, no, it has to be, yeah, you've got to do the same kind of process every single day. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think medically, you want checks and balances. You want doctors to work in a team. You want to set your highest standard of level of medical care always. You're dealing with people, their lives, their health, their families, every aspect of them. So that's why accredited care at the highest standard means highest level of care. Multidisciplinary means that not only do you have the checks and balances, but you have visualization and making sure that you're having a comprehensive, well thought through. So the surgeon's not just saying cut and the oncologist is not saying chemo approach. And you're also learning from one another. You have the survivorship and the life coaches on it going, hold on a minute, or the rehabilitation and prehabilitation specialist saying, this person needs more than just the process of what you guys are offering.
Yes. Okay, so on that very personalized point, thank you very much for joining us. Your closing message for public, patients, healthcare professionals.
Your body, okay. Take time, okay. Make sure things are reviewed. Don't just go from one doctor to another because someone sent you there, okay. Take responsibility. Your health, your body, okay. If something's not right, go for another opinion, okay. You lose nothing. It doesn't mean you can't go back to that team. All it means is that you are making sure all the checks and balances are in place.
Yes. And so if you feel like you are on a conveyor belt, get off.
Yes, stop. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Colleen,
Okay,
thank you
so
so much.
thank you so much. We have been listening to Professor Carol Ann Benn. She's been talking to us about survivorship and oncology. Thank you so much for joining us, Carol.
Pleasure.
And now we
Absolutely.
know you're going to be running off to do your next thing. But
Yes.
to my listeners, please remember that you're loved, you matter, and you're not alone. And we'll see you next week.
the home of inspiration every day.
Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful.
From news,
Countries across the globe have been hit by the COVID-19 virus.
views,
There's a global trend to see an increase in GBV incidences, specifically domestic violence.
sports,
What's he say? It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala.
and music to inspire you every day. This is Vuka Online, your inspiration radio station.